Quite a palpable tension here. People are definitely agitated because of the manner in which the government has entered into an MOU in resolving the long-pending contentious areas of difference along the Assam-Meghalaya border. You will recall that the government of Meghalaya has actually called a meeting of all the political parties to discuss about the approach adopted in respect of resolving this contentious, long-pending issue of interstate boundary-related matter with Assam. And the irony is that only after an MOU was signed with the counterpart, the political parties were invited. That is the time when we have protested. If you have already signed an MOU, what is there? You have been asked to be very transparent, because we have to revisit the genesis, as to the genesis of these areas of difference in respect of those areas pertaining to the areas of difference along the Assam-Meghalaya border. What is the background? The background is that after the interstate border was demarcated by Survey of India, post Northeast Reorganization Act 1971, people of the state of Meghalaya have refused to accept. Okay. Now, what is the basis? The basis is that the land in Meghalaya do not belong to the state government. The land belongs to the people. We have Himas, we have Dolois, we have Akangs in respect of Garo Hills. So all these land belong to different CMship in respect of Khas Hills, different Akang lands in respect of Garo Hills, and different Dolois in respect of Jaintia Hills. Therefore, based on this, if you relook at the Northeastern Reorganization Act 1971, the creation of Meghalaya is completely clear in as far as the pronouncement of the area is concerned. The area falling under, I am making it in a simpler term so that everybody will understand. The areas falling within the jurisdiction of United Khasi Jaintia Autonomous District Council and the areas falling within the Garo Hills Autonomous District Council shall form the part of the state of Meghalaya. Now, all these areas forms part of the areas well within the jurisdiction of United Khasi Jaintia Autonomous District Council. So also the rest in the western part. Therefore, if you want to look at the border, you have all the revenue records available from pre-independence time, from the time of the British era. Therefore, whether you are talking about the areas along Khanapara, Pilankata that exists, which falls under your CMship of Himamelim, they have their own land records, the revenue records, based on which it is crystal clear which forms part of Meghalaya. Similarly, this side, this is falling under the Hima Nongrang Sadarsi. So every village have their headman who receives sanat from the Himas. That is a delegation of power to govern, inconsistent with the provision of 6th Schedule of the Constitution of India. You will appreciate the fact that we also have, besides the ownership over the land, we also have the responsibility and the power mandated by the provision of the 6th Schedule of Constitution for governing, for administration of justice. Therefore, any Nokma, for that matter, who is issued sanat has the delegation of power to embark upon all his responsibility inconsistent with the administration of justice, based on our traditional customary laws and practices. And that is part of our culture. That is part of our way of life. Now, the ownership over the land forms our cultural heritage. The Hima, whether you're talking about Himas elsewhere, not even along the border of Assam, they have own jurisdiction. So therefore, the government is not the owner of the land, number one. Therefore, the government doesn't have the right to give a consent or assent for alienation of any land from within that particular Hima. Okay. Because that land belongs to the jurisdiction within well within the administrative jurisdiction of the Hima. Please understand that the Himas also, the Akhang lands and Dolois also have both administrative power and administrative responsibilities in as far as administrating the land and resources are concerned. Therefore, in the instant case when the government of Meghalaya is inking an MOU with Assam counterpart, have they taken cognizance of this aspect? Because if they have signed an MOU to allow certain villages which were integral part of these Himas, that means there will be alienation of land from the Himas. There will be alienation of land from the 6 schedule area. Now, if there is an alienation of land or transfer of land, land means assets, resources, land resources, only the owner can sign. If you're the owner of a property, if your property has to be transferred to somebody, you have to sign, no? Nobody can sign on your behalf. If somebody's property has to be transferred to somebody, then the Transfer of Property Act applies. So similarly here, who is the owner here? They have to understand. That's why I have said that there is a complexity associated with this long pending contentious problem pertaining to the areas of difference along Assam and Meghalaya border. One has to try to have an in-depth understanding about this problem. Now, if I am in your Akhang land, in your Hima, I cannot decide on my own to say that, okay, I want to be in Assam, then there will be an alienation of land from that Hima. Who am I to actually have the power to alienate that land? You know, so the approach itself has been wrong. That is what I have been saying from the day one. The approach that you have adopted as a government is completely wrong. And it is complete manifestation of lack of in-depth understanding about the problems or issues related to resolving land issue. Here, resolving land issue means you will have to talk to the landowners. The landowners who belong, means landowners, the clan. Here, if you're talking about Hima Milim, you have to talk about Hima Milim. Their Darbar will decide. They also used to have the national Darbar. You know, similarly, every Hima has their own power in administration of their land and resources, inconsistent with all the customary laws and practices. Therefore, today we are here in Malang. Now, another thing, there are areas of difference where the stand of the state has to be indicated that this particular land which is being claimed by Assam is well within the boundary of one particular area. Say, for example, as I have referred to, under this CMC, under this Hima. So there is a complete clarity. And there are areas where we never had any dispute. Now, the areas which are not considered as areas of difference or outside the areas of dispute are well within Meghalaya. That means there is no dispute. Now, even the areas where there is no dispute, which is well within Meghalaya, those are the areas also which are in the process of their negotiation, and the so-called infamous give and take policy they have adopted there to divide the land. Now they are trying to resolve pertaining to 6 areas of difference. Out of the 12 areas, only the 6 areas of difference. On the day one, I have said that please don't proceed ahead with this piecemeal approach. And the other parameters which you are adopting in the whole methodology and the approach. Because once you do that, that means you are infringing upon the power and responsibility of our traditional institutions.
Yes.
Am I clear on that? Therefore, the areas which were not in dispute, which were well within Meghalaya and who have always been well within the administrative control of Meghalaya, even they are now being pushed to Assam. And another part is, even though there may be different people from ethnic background, may not be belonging to the indigenous ethnic background, but they are well within the jurisdiction of that Hima. That means they are an integral part in respect of that particular Hima. How can you alienate that?
Okay, but
You cannot alienate that.
Okay, but the MDM government said that they went through this MOU as per your map draft by your government. What is your clarify?
If you're talking about the areas of difference and the claim, our job is to indicate to Assam by substantiating our claim through available records which pertains to revenue records. Now, when we talk about the revenue records, you all have the revenue records. Every Hima has the revenue records, which goes back to, pre-independence time. Based on this, we have documented and submitted. These areas of difference which you are claiming is ours. These areas which you are claiming is ours. That is the documentation which has been submitted to Assam government in the month of August 2011. Okay. Now, what I am saying is that you have to understand that even outside, those areas which are well within the state of Meghalaya, which were not part of the disputed areas, are also being tagged and clamped. This is another matter of concern. Okay. And if you are looking at, again, the villages which they are dividing amongst themselves, 36 square kilometer of areas of difference in respect of these 6 areas of difference, they are dividing into 18 square kilometer. By 2 meetings, they have already completed this exercise. This is how you will be able to resolve these areas of difference. Now, while they try to do so, so many villages which are part of our claim has been transferred to Assam. So many villages. Somewhere the same village is being divided into 2. You're seeing it in Khanapara, you're seeing it in Maikuli, you're seeing it in many villages. They're dividing even one village. On what basis? The give and take means you want to divide 50-50%. How will you give the land which belongs to the Hima? How will you give the land which belongs to the people? The land does not belong to government. Okay. That's why this is the complexity associated. Now Assam government understands it very well. Hemanta Biswa Sarma understands it very well. But Conrad probably doesn't understand this. Yes. That's why they want to expeditiously complete this whole process. Because when they can do it during the time when Conrad is in the helm of affairs of governance, they can have their field day. This is exactly what is actually a matter of concern. Our job is to tell them that what you are doing is wrong. I have said so outside the house, inside the house. I have cautioned them, don't go with this approach. This is completely unacceptable and it is a dangerous trend. You are allowing alienation of our 6 scheduled land. You are deciding to alienate the land which belongs to the clan, which belongs to the community, which belongs to the people. Please remember one thing. The moment these areas are allowed to be part of Assam, our people will become landless. Our generation next will become landless. We have already seen it in other parts of the state, where our Garos used to be the predominant inhabitants. Villages have disappeared. So please understand the overall serious fallout which revolves around, the future identity of our people.
Okay, what step will you take against this?
You will have to again revisit how the areas of difference have cropped up. When people don't accept, then area of difference remains. We don't accept it, people don't accept it. That means the areas of difference remains, it is not resolved. Okay. Because even after Northeast Reorganization Act 1971, when Survey of India has demarcated the border, Assam-Meghalaya border, people have not accepted it. It is after an enactment of an act. Still people didn't accept it because people wanted to protect the leaders then, our senior ancestors, rather our predecessors, wanted to protect the interests of our people in sync with the responsibility that is expected of us, the responsibility that is vested upon us. And we will sincerely fulfill our responsibilities. Thank you. Dalo hadal gani chkungo densalo langpio problemo unanga chimisrongjo. Hadal gani chisao langpio problemo wani zamano iko resolve kana gata kamko kana tika. Langpio nanga tangi baha. Uno mai kuanga kana langpi. Langpi ni gamana kan ronga. Ani ba langpio pangnan gulmalong ronga. When Langpi was an epicenter of real magnitude of problem pertaining to the areas of difference with Assam. When we discuss kani zamano, manderang ni insecure we feel kani zamano, Maiko decide catching number 1, eco resolve again, aro manderang na security ko again in skangapa police presence ko donjo. Ne, Langpio police tongja jokchim. Anga sandi jok mai ki Langpi Meghalaya ongode ino problem ongode mai na police tongja. Protect kana, defend kana. Chachi sku sotsku sochetsku bulsio police tongapa ragali galangane uno matong government dongpa ragali galanga ini orto de surrender khai donangjo iko angara abapli dona number 1 uni jamano asamang meeting kana tikhajo anjing ia problem ko ta aki machot jensalo asamang meeting ka haino member toron gogoi sagi chief minister ong mateng Hemanta Biswa Sarma daw Chief Minister ong ingapa Assamni biya Minister ong mata rugapan Minister ang dunga tsenga meeting ka. Skang gaba meeting ang ni Chief Minister ong. Ino resolve kanan 칭낭겐 다락기. ino asam maiko agan chakana nasong megalani sorkari ya ko resolve kana ni de agana aba akhanga ndiba nasong ni ko ya dolil rangko document rangko revenue record rangko amjok tauna bana song naman kujade ni agan 적 ene gaman chinga ino meeting o dongma tengo officer rang donga chief secretary donga discuss 가족 안층이 record rang 충자마 미송바 아가나 충자 니나 아차 한다고 되 가만 코 충이 다리나 뱉다는 게 미송 벌시사 소매 아마 앙아 간족 벌시사 아그리겐 안층 자도고 맞췄다만 겐마 공화 공자 암다고 동아이겐 살니 구착이랑조 랑아니 자마는 실롱치 양엠나 미팅 카임나 이니기면 리뷰 카임나 뉴어라 도쿠멘 은급한 중상자 네 은혜 그만 도쿠멘 랑코 안층니 내렇게 아독 지간이 녹급바랑고 도쿠멘 동아 브리티스니 자송어 바디아 근고리 이니 그막 맵랑 동아 여금먹고 아마타하 송바트랑고 세메나 에프라이스 카임나 인바이트 카쪽 지온야 임포르텐 옹급바 레베뉴 레코드랑 동아 레베뉴 도쿠멘랑 동아 sorkarina iyan dakpan problem ko sorkana nang ani gaman rabay unrembo bangin rabay unna ya gammat ko compile kaimna ground zero ni maidki badia chiring ko maimunga basago bali chiring iko maimunga iko 가만히 ko yaha nimi chokode mo ini gaman songni manderang chisingbo badia chiring badia natural boundary ko namme identify kana mistake ogjakan dedicated team ko donimna 다리였다 네 다리였더라 많이 자도 벌시소 맞췄자 자마노 벌시사 아타옹조 아고스 자니 아잘그니 지산이 아고스 자우사 증아야 도쿠멘테이션 가고 야 증이 악한 것바 금먹건 메갈라니 아독치가 야랑 도쿠멘 님나 야 도쿠멘 금먹고 비송나 삽빛 가족 리똥 아발키오 야 금먹고 아삼노나 어니 자마노사 비송 증아 이코 스타디 카나 소모연 뭐 냠조 우노 니사 아바칭아 야랑니 감칸 너데 비송데 야 금먹고 느낌이나 마시족 야 도쿠멘 방아디야 은혜 그러면 미팅 가나 뭐 아지로로 갈리로로 닥김나 딜레 가족 나우 야 거면 속바면이데 다락기 닥남밍아 아 잔치족 남족 다락기 닥고 되노 나우데 다락기 닥가곤 이렇고 와라 옹기 자쿠서 닥스카인족 낭니 악한 거면 낭니 도쿠멘 동아 야 도쿠멘데 다우르로 이슈 가가바 노티피케이션 가가바 봉자 야 아독탕 지가탕이 놓고바랑 동아 나우 나송 야 이노 말랑고 동이야 바디야 히마니는 거 안 친구야 얘 히마니 바운더리 동마 동자 히마 놓고바랑 야 아코 나땡이마 은혜 그만 싸달로 야 아독 지간이 놓고바랑 사와랑 증안 놓고바니 도쿠멘테이션 거 남미 삽밋 가니 자마노 아달그니 지샤오 증이 삽밋 가니 자마노 아삼 다락기 닥나바 아가노바 라도로리 닥기자 나우 닥킹아 은혜 그만 야라 스테트 예산이 감옥자 스테트 개근이니 감 마이나 아송나 안층 구멍나족 안층이 안층이 보라니 프로블em 코 남았나데 안층 아송나는 게노 돌사 아송나 모바 돌사 아송이 언저데 안착기 언저데 소매나 네 언디바 달밭급바 카마라마야 도쿠멘테이션 낭니 제안나 안탕니 아코 지코야 증이야 증이 아독치가 증이 만데랑니 아독치가 아큰고리니 놓고빠랑 동아 히마랑 동아 CM10 동아 야 금메코 옷니메나 벌근낭이 아강나 뭐 to substantiate and justify our claim 우코 닥나 감 맞췄다 우한 달밭급바 감 우코 아잘그니 지셔 맞췄다 우노 베스 카이미나다 어디 바디 안층이 아 클리어롱아 마멍 컨퓨전 동자 은디바 두크니 카타라 마이나 안층니 응급바콘 비쇼노 나띵아 나 스퀘어 킬로미터 콜라 치도코 리졸브 카나 담독 에리어 오브 디퍼런스 마망코 리졸브 카나니 비숑 티카 아바 칭원 칭아 간도 이코 기록 딱나베 앞산 금코 딱나는 게 넘버 1 아로 아도코 지가 동급바 송동급바 만데랑코 승행하나 나시마 아삼치 용겐마 마 메갈레 용겐 서버데 아삼치 양나스급바바 동나바 동아 엔디바 아라사니 앙니 녹합 동나바 동아 이노 엔디바 야 녹합 데 바디바 아흥니 하바 바디바 히마니 하바 바디바 CM10니 하바 나오 이노 아츠가 송어데 안층 아흥 동아 뭐 랑사니 아흥나 가블니 아흥나 등탕타 마리니 아흥 동아 요 랑사니 아흥 송동 급바랑 앙아데 야 급반 아흥 차 짓나 뭐니 짓당나 만겐마 온겐마 마드랑랑 온자바 우한 안층니 등탕만차 안층니 카스토머리 프랙티스 앤 카스토머리 로 베이스 카임나 안탕타나 온그만 아독 지가코 만들 급바코 사손 카니 불라로 파워 우노 방착기사 나 달로 아사망 보르다코 리조브 카나 오데 아독 지간이 녹급바 링아마 우코세 니칭나는 겐 가멘데 아독 지간이 녹급바 자 야 아독 지가데 안층니 메갈레오데 거미니 동자 government maina ba nangode mandirang uni kusa amna nanga ujode ekwer karanan gen wani gaman adok sigani nokparangsa agan gen angni ako asamnon gen mon jawa maina yede transfer of property gam jinko transfer khating jo ini gaman gam jini nokpa se joktion gen ba 메갈레 government 감진 놓고 봉자 아독 시간이 놓고 봉자 증아디 니틈 급바하 카스토디언사 니아모 방착게 디펜 카나 논금은 만데랑사 데모크라시니 시스템 데모크라시 스피리트 연이금은 이하다 메급바 카타옹아 달로 앙아 이코바응사 아바칭고 나가나 만데랑 치스 아만에 사치승 챙게 아 놓고 바치 승체나는 게 나오 카타니 카타 안칭 아삼 보다로 데 아츠크랑바 동아 급은 자트랑바 동아 안칭니 에트닉 indigenous ethnic community na agreba mo anchini khasi jaintia aro achkrang na agreba gapanjat padonga wene gaman ya gapanjatrang ba adok chigao anchini adok chigao songdong phagabarang donga bisong asamchi angna mai amenga ni na today nangni adok chiga khode na transfer ka ito khating jo asamchi akhang gore ko asamchi transfer khating jo alienation of sectional area yasa da big pa khata wene gaman sa ya gamma ko ma siesa anga bachingoni nagana na songni approach 가래 공자 야고 닥나베 야니 가래 공이 닥나데 남미 코마 시쟁보 안칭오데 스테이트 거먼데 아니 아독니 지가니 아큰고리는 놓고 봉자 만데랑사 원이그만 이아데 블롱엔 컴택송아 야코 안칭니 아독 지가코 급은 스테이트나 왔다다마네 나 아독 지가코 바카가 갱족 아큰고리코 바카가 갱족 히마코 바카가 갱족 이니 파워데 belkude state government na bonja darang na bonja ye imausa donggen ye madrang mari jerki clan system nya chingagana anching rangsa mahari ni akhnude rangsa mari chanchigen ongen mon jawa sorkari na palna moba mahari chanchi chinga wandegen apsandki anching khasirang ni jancherang ni system ondkin himao wanang ni cmc po wanang ni doloi apsandkin donga isong ni ba darbar donga darbaro chanchigen darbaro chanchimna chingni himani ako asamchino neptude chingni adok chigade asamchi angnok bisong konsen onjokma 야고번 이나는 게 은혜가면서 야 미송니 아도고 지가 동급바 송동급바 만대랑 정하대 양납 무한 너버 미송은 저대 양납 저거 와서 은혜가면 야 컴플렉시티고 마치는 와. 야 컴플렉시티고 마시면서 안치네 강나는 게 운호사 그뭐 관청 앞산 구철산웅 이 거리 접하는 게 야고상아 오바 사간티나 나가니 솔카이나 바가니 라콘 못해.
terasa